The first time they called her Omo Weri, the mad woman's child, she was only 6 years old. It was market day in Oshodi, and her mother, Mary, had climbed on top of a wooden stall, screaming at the sky, waving her wrapper like it was a flag of war. Traders laughed, children pointed, women shook their heads. And little Tolu, barefoot, with dust on her knees, could do nothing but stand still, her chest burning as the insults rained like stones. She wanted to scream back, "That's my mother. She is sick, not mad." But her tongue was heavy. Her eyes only filled with tears as one boy threw a rotten mango at her, shouting, "Run away, Omo Weri, before your mother bites us." That day, something broke inside her. Welcome, dear listeners and family of African Folktales Hub. Today, I invite you into one of the most heart-gripping and Eltalu-changing stories you will ever hear. A story that will inspire you to believe again in the power of kindness. Before we begin, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and stay till the end, because what happens to this girl will shock you, and perhaps change the way you see every child on the streets of Africa. Now, lean closer. The drums are low. The fire is crackling. Let me tell you what happened to Tolu. Tolu was 12 now. Tall, skinny, her cheekbones sharp like someone carved them from hunger. Her hair was rough, twisted in clumps. Her dress was brown not because it was made that way, but because dirt and sun had swallowed its color. Every day, she guided her mother, Mary, to their begging spot near the yellow buses of Oshodi. Her mother was no longer young. Madness had stripped her beauty and left her eyes hollow, like two broken calabashes. Sometimes Mary sang old Yoruba lullabies, sometimes she cursed invisible enemies. And every time, Tolu held her hand tightly, whispering, "It's me, Mama. It's me." Coins sometimes fell into her rusted plate, but more often, insults fell instead. Dirty child. Future mad woman. Waste of space. Yet, deep in her heart, Tolu carried a secret the world didn't know. She was brilliant. One afternoon, under the blazing Lagos sun, a boy stood near them reading aloud from his schoolbook while waiting for his mother. Tolu's ears stretched like drums. She listened. Within minutes, she whispered the words to herself, repeating every line perfectly. That night, with a charcoal stub on a broken carton, she wrote the sentences again, word for word. Her mother laughed beside her, chasing shadows, but Tolu smiled proudly at the neat lines. She could not go to school, but in her mind, she built a school of her own. The city was cruel, yet Tolu refused to drown. She carried water on her head to earn small coins, swept shops for bread crusts, and even shined shoes once in a while. But always, when she saw children in uniforms crossing the road, she paused, whispering under her breath, "One day, that will be me." That one day seemed impossible, until fate brought her near the golden gates of Queen's Crest Academy. It was not a school, it was a palace. Shiny black SUVs lined the compound, glass windows sparkled like diamonds, and children wore blazers with their names stitched neatly. If the world had kings and queens, this was where their children studied. Tolu hid behind a mango tree just outside the fence. Through a cracked window, she saw a teacher writing fractions on the board. Her heart raced. Her lips moved. She whispered the answers before the class even finished. And for the first time in her Eltalu, she felt alive. Days turned into weeks. Tolu returned to that mango tree again and again. She wrote on scraps of nylon, solved sums in the dust, and repeated English words until her tongue shaped them right. But one day, as she crouched low, whispering solutions, a shadow fell over her. She looked up. It wasn't a teacher. It wasn't a guard. It was a girl about her age. Braided hair shining, uniform spotless, shoes polished. Her name tag glistened, Jessica Ague. Jessica, daughter of Chief Tunde Ague, oil magnate, billionaire, feared, respected. Jessica tilted her head, studying Tolu like she was a puzzle. "What are you doing here?" she asked softly. Tolu froze, her throat dry. I just wanted to learn." Jessica's eyes widened. "You're the one they call the mad woman's child, right?" The words struck like a whip. Talu's cheeks burned. She turned to run. But Jessica caught her hand. Wait, can you help me? I don't understand these fractions. That moment was the beginning of something no one could have imagined. Under that mango tree, every lunch break, the barefoot girl from the gutter became the secret teacher of a billionaire's daughter. Talu broke down numbers into stories, explained English with songs, and showed Jessica tricks she had invented from scraps of learning. Jessica's grades rose. Her laughter returned. She began to shine. But secrets do not stay buried forever. One afternoon, as the two girls bent over a shared notebook, eating fried plantain together, the ground suddenly trembled with the sound of engines. Black SUVs rolled into the compound. Men in dark glasses stepped out. And then, the tall figure of Chief Ague emerged. Jessica's spoon froze mid-air. Her heart sank. Her father never came without reason. He spotted her at once, sitting with a ragged girl under the mango tree. His steps thundered toward them. His voice was sharp, commanding, dangerous. Jessica, who is this child? Talu's body shook. Her eyes fell to the ground. She whispered, I'm sorry, sir. But Jessica stood. Her chin lifted. She's my friend. And she's the reason I finally understand my lessons. The air turned to stone. Chief Ague's assistants looked shocked. Teachers nearby froze. Even the birds seemed to stop mid-song. The billionaire's eyes narrowed. And then, very quietly, he said, Take me to her mother. What would he do when he saw Mary, the madwoman on the roadside? Would he banish Talu forever, or destroy the fragile friendship she had found? Or would this be the moment her El Talu changed forever? The answer lay just ahead, beyond the dust, beyond the noise of Oshodi, beyond the shadows of poverty. The convoy rolled out of Queen's Crest Academy like a storm cloud. Engines growled, tinted windows reflected the afternoon sun, and curious students whispered as dust rose behind the billionaire's SUVs. Inside the lead car, silence sat heavy. Jessica clutched Talu's hand tightly, her small fingers trembling. Chief Ague sat opposite them, his jaw tight, his gaze unreadable. His assistants flanked the seats, their eyes darting between the barefoot girl and their employer. For Talu, it was a nightmare. Her chest pounded, palms damp, throat dry. She had never been inside a car this clean, this cold, this frightening. Her whole body wanted to melt into the leather seat and disappear. Why did I not run? She thought. Why did I stay under that mango tree? But every time her fear threatened to choke her, Jessica squeezed her hand tighter, whispering without words, I am here. You're not alone. They turned off the main road, weaving through crowded streets where hawkers balanced trays of oranges and bus conductors shouted for passengers. The cars looked out of place, too polished for the chaos of Oshodi. Heads turned. Murmurs followed. Children pointed at the shiny wheels. Finally, the convoy stopped by a familiar broken kiosk. This is it, Talu whispered, her voice trembling. Chief Ague stepped out first. The billionaire's sandals crunched against gravel as he approached the figure sitting by the gutter. Mary. Her wrapper hung loosely, stained from days without washing. Her hair stuck out in wild tufts. She rocked back and forth, humming an old Yoruba lullaby to a broken plastic cup cradled in her arms, as though it were a baby. Mama, Talu said softly, kneeling beside her. It's me. Mary looked up, her eyes clouded, unfocused. She blinked at her daughter, then at the tall stranger standing near. Her lips curled into a smile, and she whispered, Did you bring the sky back? I told them my daughter was born from the stars. The assistants exchanged nervous glances. One of them muttered, Sir, maybe we should. But Chief Ague raised a hand. He crouched down, lowering himself until his face was level with the woman's. Madam, he said gently, you need help. Mary laughed suddenly, slapping her hands together. Help? The sky doesn't help. It only rains. Then she began to sing louder, rocking the cup back and forth. Talu's face burned. Tears filled her eyes. She turned to the billionaire, her voice breaking. Please, sir, Don't punish her. She's sick, not wicked. She doesn't know. Please, don't take it out on me. I'll never come back to your school. I'll disappear. Just don't hurt her." Her words fell like stones into the silence. Jessica jumped forward. "Daddy, please. She saved me. If you send her away, you'll lose me too." The air thickened. A market woman passing by slowed down, staring at the strange scene. A billionaire crouched beside a madwoman, two girls clinging to each other, black SUVs idling at the roadside. Chief Ague straightened slowly. His eyes swept over the broken kiosk, the buzzing flies, the cracked earth, the madwoman's trembling hands. Then, for the first time in years, something softened in him. He turned to his assistant. "Call Dr. Aisha," he ordered. "Psychiatric unit. Full treatment. No delay." The man froze, shocked. "Sir, you heard me." He looked back at Talou. His voice lowered. "And you, from today, you are not just a homeless girl." Talou blinked, confused. "Sir." He knelt again, this time placing his large hand gently on her frail shoulder. His eyes locked with hers, steady, unshaken. "You have a father now," he said. The words cracked something inside her. For years, she had carried the shame of not knowing who her father was. Whenever she asked, her mother spoke of rain or stars, nonsense that only deepened her loneliness. Children had mocked her endlessly, fatherless, bastard, mad woman's child. And now, this man, this powerful man, was saying the very words she had always longed to hear. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. She only wept. Silent tears streamed down her face, cutting clean lines through the dust on her cheeks. Within an hour, Mary was gently lifted into an ambulance. She kicked and screamed, fighting invisible demons, but the nurses held her with care, speaking softly in Yoruba. The siren wailed as it drove toward the best psychiatric hospital in Lagos. Talou watched, her chest heavy. She wanted to chase the van, to cling to her mother's wrapper. But Jessica wrapped her arms around her and whispered, "She's going to be safe now." Safe. A word Talou had never believed belonged to her. That evening, for the first time in years, Talou bathed in clean water. She wore fresh pajamas given by one of the housemaids. Her hair was combed, oiled, and neatly packed. The billionaire's mansion was larger than any place she had ever imagined. Marble floors gleamed like mirrors. Chandeliers glowed overhead. The scent of fried plantain drifted from a vast kitchen. But to Talou, it all felt unreal. Her fingers clutched the hem of her borrowed clothes. She whispered to herself, "Don't wake up. Don't wake up. Let this not be a dream." At dinner, Jessica pulled her to the long table, ignoring the stares of servants. Chief Ague sat at the head, silent as always, but when he saw Talou hesitate, he said firmly, "Sit. You are family now." She sat, hands trembling as plates of jollof rice, grilled chicken, and fried dodo were placed before her. The smell alone almost made her faint. She had eaten scraps from gutters, licked dry bread, and shared half-rotten oranges with her mother. Never in her El Talou had she seen so much food in front of her. Her eyes welled again. She picked one piece of chicken, holding it like it was gold. Jessica smiled. "Eat. Nobody will chase you away here." Later that night, in the quiet of Jessica's room, Talou lay on a soft bed for the first time. Her eyes traced the ceiling, her body stiff, unused to comfort. Jessica turned to her and whispered, "You're safe now." But Talou couldn't sleep. Her heart still raced with fear. Her ears still heard the market insults. Her skin still remembered the cold pavement of Oshodi. She closed her eyes and prayed, "God, I don't understand this. Why me? Why now? If this is truly real, don't take it away. Don't let me wake up back in the gutter." Her tears soaked the pillow. And as the night wore on, the distant echo of drums from the street mixed with the quiet hum of air conditioning, two worlds colliding in one fragile girl's heart. But the story was not finished. Because the next morning, as she walked into Queen's Crest Academy in a crisp new uniform, whispers followed her. Students stared. Teachers frowned. And one child muttered loudly, "Isn't that the mad woman's child? What is she doing here?" The past had not forgotten her. And the battle for her true worth was only beginning. The sun rose bright over Queen's Crest Academy, casting golden light on the polished school gates. For the wealthy children who studied there, it was just another day of learning. But for Talou, stepping through those gates in a crisp uniform for the first time, it was a battle between her past and her future. The fabric felt stiff against her thin arms. The shoes, polished, shining, almost too new, pinched her toes. She clutched her exercise books to her chest like a shield. At her side walked Jessica, her face glowing with pride. "Don't worry," she whispered. "You belong here." But the whispers had already begun. "That's her. The gutter girl. Wait, is that the mad woman's child? How can Chief Ague allow this embarrassment?" Some students giggled, others pointed. A few sneered openly. Talou's chest tightened. Every cruel word she had ever heard on the streets came rushing back. For a moment, she wanted to run, out of the gate, back to the gutter where at least the insults were familiar. But then she remembered Chief Ague's words the night before, "From today, you are not just a homeless girl. You have a father now." She lifted her chin, swallowed hard, and kept walking. In class, the tension grew thicker. The teacher, Mrs. Okonkwo, frowned when she saw Talou at the back seat. "Who is this?" she asked, chalk pausing mid-stroke. Jessica raised her hand. "This is Talou. She's a new student." Murmurs rippled through the class. Mrs. Okonkwo adjusted her glasses, eyes narrowing. "New student? Without placement exams? Without proper files?" She sighed. "Well, let us see what you can do." She wrote a long mathematics problem on the board, fractions tangled with brackets and multiplication. Turning sharply, she said, "You, new girl, solve it." All eyes darted to Talou. Her heart pounded. She could hear the snickers already forming, ready to erupt if she failed. She rose slowly, walked to the board, and took the chalk in trembling fingers. For a moment, the numbers blurred. Sweat rolled down her back. What if they're right? What if I don't belong here? Then she remembered the mango tree. She remembered teaching Jessica the same problem, breaking it down with patience. She breathed deeply, steadied her hand, and began to write. Step by step, her strokes grew bolder. She solved the fractions, simplified, and boxed the answer with confidence. The classroom fell silent. Mrs. Okonkwo's eyes widened. "Correct." Gasps broke out. A few students exchanged shocked looks. Jessica grinned, clapping softly. Talou returned to her seat, her cheeks hot, not with shame this time, but with something new. Something fierce. Pride. But victory did not silence everyone. During break, as she sat with Jessica under the mango tree, 3 older girls approached. Their uniforms were perfect, their braids neat, their shoes spotless. The leader, Anita, crossed her arms and smirked. "So, this is the famous gutter girl," Anita sneered. "You think wearing our uniform makes you one of us?" Talou lowered her gaze. "I don't want trouble." Anita stepped closer, jabbing a manicured finger at her forehead. "Then go back to where you belong. This school is not for people like you." Jessica stood, fire in her eyes. "Leave her alone." Anita laughed. "Look at you, Jessica Ague, defending your pet project. Do you know what people are saying? That your father brought her here because he pities mad people. That you need a beggar to pass your exams." Jessica's fists clenched. "Say one more word, Anita, and..." "Jessica." Talou's quiet voice cut through the tension. She rose, standing tall despite her thin frame. "You can call me gutter girl, mad woman's child, whatever you like. But one thing you cannot call me is stupid. And when exams come, I will prove it." Anita's smile faltered for a moment. She hissed, flipped her braids, and stalked off with her friends. Jessica turned to Talou, eyes wide. "You were amazing. I thought you'd cry or hide." Talou shook her head slowly. On the streets, If you cry, they laugh louder. I'm tired of crying. That night, Chief Ague called Tolu into his study. The room smelled of leather and books, shelves lined with trophies and framed certificates. He gestured for her to sit. I heard what happened today, he said, both in class and outside. Tolu lowered her head. I didn't mean to cause trouble, sir. Trouble? His voice softened. No, Tolu. You showed strength. But strength must always walk with wisdom. Remember that. He leaned forward. Do you know why I let you into Queen's Crest? She shook her head. Because when I saw you teaching Jessica under that mango tree, I saw more than a child from the gutter. I saw a leader, a teacher, a mind sharper than gold. But the world won't see that unless you shine so brightly they cannot deny it. Her eyes welled with tears. I will try, sir. No, he said firmly. You will not try. You will succeed. He opened a drawer and pulled out a tablet loaded with textbooks, practice questions, and learning apps. This is yours. Use it well. But remember, gadgets don't make you great. Discipline does. Tolu took it with trembling hands, her heart swelling. Thank you, Baba, she whispered before she could stop herself. The word hung in the air. Chief Ague blinked, surprised. Then slowly, a smile touched his lips. You are welcome, my daughter. Days turned to weeks. Tolu studied harder than she had ever imagined possible. She woke early, solved problems late into the night, and absorbed every lesson like a sponge. Her classmates began to notice. Some respected her. Others grew jealous. And Anita simmered with silent rage. Exam season came. The school buzzed with tension. Students whispered, pens scratched, teachers patrolled. Tolu sat at her desk, her pencil sharp, her mind clear. Every question felt like one she had already solved 100 times before. Under street lamps, in dust, on scraps of paper. When the results were announced 2 weeks later, the assembly hall roared. First position, Tolu Mary. The hall erupted into murmurs. The mad woman's child. No way. How? Jessica clapped so loudly her palms turned red. Anita's face twisted in disbelief. And Chief Ague, seated in the front row, allowed himself the faintest smile. But triumph never comes without shadows. That evening, as Tolu celebrated quietly with Jessica, a housemaid rushed into the room, her face pale. Sir is calling you, she said breathlessly. It's about your mother. Something has happened at the hospital. The words froze Tolu where she stood. Her spoon of rice slipped from her fingers and clattered to the floor. Her heart thundered. What could it be? Had Mama escaped? Had she died? The walls of safety she had just begun to build trembled. And once again, the fragile world of the mad woman's child stood on the edge of breaking. The mansion felt colder that evening. Every corridor echoed with Tolu's hurried steps as she followed the housemaid toward Chief Ague's study. Her hands shook, her chest pounded. Jessica ran beside her, whispering, Don't worry, it will be fine. But the look in the maid's eyes told another story. When they entered the study, Chief Ague was standing by the window, phone in hand, his face unreadable. Papers lay scattered across the desk, hospital reports stamped in red ink. Tolu froze at the door. Her throat was too tight for words. Finally, Chief Ague turned. His voice was low, heavy. Tolu, your mother had an episode this afternoon. The room spun. She broke into the kitchen ward, grabbed a KN Tolu, and claimed she was fighting demons. The nurses restrained her before she hurt herself, or anyone else. Tolu staggered back, her palms covering her mouth. No, Mama. Jessica caught her before she collapsed. Chief Ague crossed the room and placed a steady hand on her shoulder. Listen to me. She is alive. No one was harmed. But the doctors say her condition is more severe than they thought. They want to transfer her to a higher facility in Abuja. It will require more resources, more time. Tolu's tears fell hot and fast. I don't care about money, sir. Please, just don't give up on her. Everyone else already did. Please. Chief Agu knelt, his deep eyes locking onto hers. Do you trust me, child? Through her sobs, she nodded. Then hear me well. As long as I breathe, your mother will not be abandoned. His words struck like thunder, strong and immovable. For the first time since the streets, Talou felt a foundation beneath her feet, something she could lean on. That night, sleep refused to come. Talou sat by her window, staring at the Lagos skyline glowing faintly in the distance. She clutched Jessica's notepad, the one with 2 stick girls under a mango tree. She traced their hands over and over. God, she whispered into the dark. I don't know what tomorrow holds. But please, don't take my mother away from me before she remembers who I am. Please let her see me, just once, clearly. The wind rustled through the curtains, as though carrying her plea to the heavens. The next morning, Talou insisted on visiting the hospital before school. The drive was silent, except for Jessica's comforting squeeze on her hand. When they arrived, Dr. Aisha, a kind-eyed woman in her 40s, met them at the gate. She fought us all night, the doctor admitted. But this morning, she is calmer. It may be safe for you to see her. Talou's heart leapt and sank at once. Inside, the smell of antiseptic filled the air. Patients murmured in distant rooms. The hall was painted white, but carried the weight of sorrow. When they reached Mary's room, Talou froze. Her mother sat on the bed, hair disheveled, eyes staring blankly at the wall. In her lap lay a piece of cloth, which she stroked gently, humming a lullaby. Mema, Talou whispered, stepping closer. No response. She swallowed and tried again, louder. Mema, it's me. Talou, your daughter. For a long moment, silence. Then, slowly, Mary's eyes shifted. They met Talou's. The humming stopped. Her lips trembled. You look like the sky, she whispered. Talou gasped. Mema, do you know me? Mary blinked, a faint spark in her hollow gaze. My child. Talou burst into tears, dropping to her knees, clutching her mother's legs. Yes, Mama, it's me. You're Talou. Dr. Aisha placed a hand on Chief Agu's arm, whispering, this is progress. The mind remembers in fragments. With proper treatment, she may recover more. Chief Agu only nodded, his gaze fixed on the fragile reunion before him. But peace was short-lived. Back at Queen's Crest, news of Talou's mother's madness spread like wildfire. Anita and her circle wasted no time. Did you hear? Her mother attacked nurses with a K in Talou. No wonder she acts strange. Madness runs in the blood. Imagine sitting beside her. What if she snaps? Whispers turn to stares. Stares turn to giggles. And giggles turn to cruelty. One afternoon, as Talou opened her locker, a dead rat fell out, landing with a thud on her books. Screams filled the corridor. Laughter followed. On the rat's body, written in chalk, were the words, "Omo weary." Talou's face burned. Her hands shook. She wanted to vanish into the floor. Jessica stormed forward, furious. Who did this? Anita smirked from the corner. Maybe the rat was just looking for its family. Laughter erupted. Jessica lunged at her, but Talou grabbed her arm. No, don't, she whispered, her voice breaking. If we fight them, they win. I'll show them with my results. That's the only language they respect. But deep inside, a storm raged. How long could she endure this? That evening, as she studied in the mansion library, Jessica touched her hand. Don't listen to them, Talou. You're more than what they say. Talou closed her book slowly. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. I thought leaving the streets would free me. But even here, they still call me the mad woman's child. Maybe that's all I'll ever be. Jessica shook her head fiercely. No, you're magic. Don't you remember? That's what I told you under the mango tree. Magic, not madness. The words sank deep, wrapping around Talou's heart like a warm cloth. Weeks later, exam season returned. This time, the whole school was watching. waiting to see if the mad woman's child could survive the pressure or fall apart under it. And Talou knew, with every fiber of her being, that this was not just about grades. It was about her name, her worth, her right to exist in a world that wanted to erase her. She looked up at the exam paper, and as her pencil touched the page, she whispered under her breath, "For Mama, for Baba, for me." But as she wrote, far away in the Abuja facility, her mother stirred in bed. Her voice cracked through the night, calling a single word over and over again. Talou, Talou, Talou. And none of them yet knew. A storm was brewing that would test love, loyalty, and destiny itself. Exams ended, but the tension in Queen's Crest Academy did not. Students whispered in corridors, waiting for results. Teachers carried stacks of scripts with sealed lips, fueling the suspense. For Talou, every tick of the clock was a drumbeat in her chest. She had poured her soul into those exams, answering each question like it was a fight for her name. Yet the voices of her classmates haunted her. Omo wary, madness runs in her blood. Jessica stayed close, never leaving her side. "You'll top the class again," she said with certainty. But Talou only shook her head. "They are waiting for me to fail. If I slip once, they'll never let me forget." The morning of the results finally came. The assembly hall buzzed with restless chatter. The principal, stern as always, mounted the stage with a stack of papers in hand. His voice echoed through the microphone. "This term, we have witnessed great effort, but also great distractions. Yet, as always, excellence speaks louder than noise." Whispers swept the hall. All eyes darted toward the back where Talou sat with Jessica. Anita smirked confidently, her polished shoes tapping against the floor. The principal adjusted his glasses. First position, Talou Mary. Silence, then gasps. The name rang out like thunder, rolling across the hall. Some students sat frozen, mouths open. Others turned to each other in disbelief. The mad woman's child again. No way. Twice. She must be cheating. But the teachers knew better. They had seen her papers, seen her brilliance. Jessica leapt to her feet, clapping so loudly the hall trembled. "That's my best friend," she shouted. The hall erupted, some in applause, some in murmurs, some in envy. But for Talou, it was not the noise that mattered. It was the principal's next words. "Let it be known, talent does not ask where you were born. It speaks for itself." Her eyes filled with tears. For the first time in her Talou, she felt seen, not as a beggar's child, not as a madwoman's daughter, but as a student, a name written in honor. But victories draw enemies. That afternoon, as the compound emptied, Anita cornered Talou near the lockers. Her voice dripped venom. "Enjoy your little spotlight while it lasts. We all know your mother is in a madhouse. You can wear our uniform, eat our food, even sit in our class. But blood doesn't lie. You'll always be one of them." Talou's hands clenched, but she remembered Chief Ague's words, "Strength must always walk with wisdom." She lifted her chin and replied softly, "You're right about one thing, blood doesn't lie. And one day, my mother will heal, and she will call me her daughter with pride. When that day comes, I'll still be here, shining." Anita's face twisted, but before she could answer, Jessica appeared. "Leave her alone, Anita, or I'll make sure my father knows how you treat his guest." Anita scoffed and stormed off, but her eyes promised revenge. That evening, as the mansion prepared for a small celebration in Talou's honor, Chief Ague summoned her again to his study. He leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. "You have done well, Talou, but the world is watching now. And when the world watches, it does not always clap." Talou frowned. "What do you mean, sir?" He slid a newspaper across the desk. On the front page, bold letters screamed, "Billionaire enrolls mad woman's child in elite school, charity or folly." Talou's breath caught. Her hands trembled as she read. The article mocked her past, described her mother's illness in cruel detail, and hinted that her presence was a stain on Queen's Crest Academy's reputation. Tears welled in her eyes. Why would they write this? Chief Ague's voice was calm, but firm. Because people fear what they don't understand. But this, Talou, is the price of being different. You can either run from it, or you can rise above it. She swallowed hard. And if I rise, will it ever stop? He studied her for a long moment. Then he said quietly, no, it never stops. But it gets easier when you know who you are. Later that night, while the household sang and clapped for her victory, Talou slipped outside into the garden. She sat under the trimmed mango tree, the same tree that had once been her classroom window. She whispered into the night, Mama, can you hear me? They call me names, but I'm still standing. One day, you'll stand beside me too. The wind rustled the leaves above her, as if answering. But even as Talou dreamed of that day, a storm brewed quietly in Abuja. Mary, her mother, had begun to remember more fragments, faces, names, even lullabies she once sang to Talou as a baby. But with memory came pain. And one night, she cried out in anguish so loud it shook the ward. Where is my daughter? Who has taken my child? Her voice echoed down the hospital halls, and none of the doctors could calm her. Chief Ague would soon be called again, and the decision he would make next could either bind their fragile new family together, or tear it apart forever. The phone rang just as dawn broke over Lagos. Chief Ague was already awake, seated at his mahogany desk with files spread before him. His assistant entered quietly, phone in hand. It's Dr. Aisha, sir. Urgent. Chief Ague's face tightened. He took the call. Her voice came sharp through the receiver. Chief, it's Mary. She's remembering, but not gently. Last night she screamed your ward's name for hours. She believes her daughter has been stolen, and she's refusing food and treatment until she sees her. Chief Ague glanced toward the hallway, where Talou's laughter drifted faintly from the kitchen with Jessica. He pinched his temple. Doctor, keep her stable. I will come. That morning, the mansion's warmth clashed with a storm of unease. Talou skipped happily into the dining room, a ribbon Jessica had tied in her hair bouncing with each step. She carried her tablet, eager to show her new notes. But the moment she saw Chief Ague's face, her steps slowed. Baba, what happened? He hesitated. How could he tell her the truth without breaking her fragile joy? Finally, he said, your mother is calling for you. She remembers more now, but it comes with pain. She believes you were taken from her. I must take you to Abuja. Talou's heart lurched. She remembers me. Yes, he said gravely, but she is restless. Seeing you may help, or it may shatter her further. Jessica reached across the table, gripping Talou's hand. We'll go together. The journey to Abuja was long. The convoy rolled past endless stretches of road, villages waking with cockcrow, hawkers balancing bread trays on their heads, children waving at the shiny cars. Talou pressed her forehead against the glass, her mind racing. What if Mama rejects me? What if she says I'm cursed? Jessica nudged her shoulder. Don't be afraid. Even if she shouts, she knows you. Deep down, she knows. Chief Ague's eyes, reflected in the rearview mirror, softened briefly as he listened. At the psychiatric hospital, the air carried a mixture of disinfectant and sorrow. Dr. Aisha greeted them with weary eyes. She's been calmer since dawn, but she insists she won't take medicine until she sees her daughter. Please, be prepared. When they entered Mary's room, Talou froze. Her mother sat on the bed, eyes wild, hair scattered, her wrapper loose. But the moment she saw Talou, her entire body jolted as though struck by lightning. My child, she screamed, lunging forward. They took you from me. They hid you. Talou's heart shattered. She ran into her mother's arms, tears streaming. Mama, it's me. I'm here. I never left you. Mary clutched her, rocking her violently, muttering, the stars said they would steal you. I told them not to take my daughter. Nurses moved closer, worried, but Chief Ague raised a firm hand. Let them be, he ordered. Slowly, Mary's rocking eased. She cupped Talu's face in trembling hands, staring deep into her eyes. For the first time in years, her gaze cleared, even if just for a heartbeat. "Talu," she whispered, voice cracking. "My child of promise." Talu sobbed, nodding. "Yes, Mama. It's me." The room held its breath. Even the nurses blinked back tears. But clarity is fragile. Within minutes, Mary's hands trembled again. She pulled back, muttering, "No, no, you're not mine. They sent a spirit to trick me. They always send spirits." Her screams filled the ward. Nurses rushed in, holding her gently, coaxing her to calm. Talu collapsed into Jessica's arms, wailing, "Why does God play with me like this? Why give me a mother who remembers and forgets in the same breath?" Chief Ague crouched beside her, his voice steady. "Because healing is not a straight road, my child. It bends. It breaks. But it moves forward. We will not stop." Back in Lagos, news of Talu's hospital visit leaked. By Monday, half the school buzzed with cruel gossip. Her mother's too mad to even know her. Imagine, daughter of a lunatic, pretending to be a princess. No wonder she studies so hard. Madness is chasing her. Anita took it further. During literature class, when the teacher asked for a volunteer to read, Anita sneered aloud, "Why don't we let Omo Wary read? Maybe madness makes books sweeter." The class erupted in cruel laughter. Talu's hands trembled. Tears threatened. But she rose, walked to the front, and began to read. Her voice was steady at first, then stronger. Every word rang clear, like a drum in moonlight. The room fell silent, students leaning forward, drawn into the rhythm of her tone. When she finished, the teacher clapped slowly. "Excellent. Clear, confident, precise. This is how literature should live in our mouths." She turned sharply on Anita. "And you, until you can read with such depth, keep your insults to yourself." The class gasped. Anita's face burned red. But Talu simply returned to her seat, her head high. Inside, her chest still ached, but her fire burned brighter. That evening, as she sat under the mango tree in the mansion garden, Jessica brought her a small parcel wrapped in Ankara cloth. "What's this?" Talu asked. Jessica grinned. "Open it." Inside was a delicate chain with a small wooden pendant carved into the shape of a star. Jessica whispered, "Your mother says you're from the stars. So let this remind you, no matter what they say, you carry light they can't touch." Talu's throat tightened. She hugged Jessica fiercely. "You're more than my friend. You're my sister." But far away in Abuja, as Mary lay restless in her hospital bed, she began muttering names over and over again. Names no one in the ward recognized. Femi, Olawale, Tunde. The nurses wrote them down for Dr. Aisha. When Chief Ague read the report days later, his face darkened. Because one of those names was his own. The night was heavy with silence when Chief Ague sat alone in his study, the paper trembling in his hand. Mary had spoken his name in the hospital. Not in passing, but with a cry that carried pain and memory. For years, he had buried the past, pushed it deep under his empire of oil and concrete. But now it stood before him like a ghost refusing to be ignored. When Talu came in later, clutching her books, he studied her face, the sharp cheekbones, the fiery eyes, the stubborn will. Too much of Mary lived in her, and too much of himself too. He felt the weight of truth pressing on his chest. He called her over, voice low. "Talu, there are things I must tell you." She sat, nervous. Jessica hovered near, sensing the storm. "I knew your mother, long ago," Chief Ague said. "Before the world called her mad. Before wealth chained me to this El Talu. She was bright, beautiful, full of songs. But I was young, foolish, already chasing riches. When she told me she was with child, I turned away. I chose power instead of responsibility. And the world punished us both." Talu's breath caught. The air felt thin. You are my father." His eyes glistened, the first cracks in his iron mask. "Yes, My child. I am. The silence after those words was louder than thunder. Tulu wanted to scream, to weep, to strike him for abandoning her to gutters and ridicule. But when she remembered her mother clutching her in flashes of lucidity, whispering, "My child of promise," she also knew that hatred would only poison her own healing. Tears streamed down her face. "Why now? Why tell me after so much suffering?" "Because I was blind," he whispered. "And it took your courage, your brilliance, to open my eyes. I cannot erase the years I left you in the dark. But I will never leave you again." Jessica slipped her hand into Tulu's. "You already have a sister," she whispered. "Don't shut him out." Tulu's body shook with sobs. Slowly, hesitantly, she leaned into his arms. It was not perfect forgiveness, but it was the beginning of it. Months passed. Mary's treatment in Abuja bore fruit. The storms in her mind grew fewer, her laughter steadier, her gaze clearer. On a warm afternoon, Tulu visited her again. This time, when their eyes met, Mary whispered with certainty, "My daughter. My Tulu." And for the first time in years, she held her child without fear, without confusion. Back at Queen's Crest Academy, the jeers slowly turned to silence. Results spoke louder than mockery, and Tulu's name rose again and again to the top of every list. The girl they once called Omoweri now stood before the school as its pride. One evening, under the mango tree in the mansion's garden, Tulu sat with Jessica, the chain with the wooden star around her neck. She whispered into the night sky, "God, I asked you for just one thing, a desk in a classroom. But you gave me more, a father, a mother's healing, a sister, and a name I no longer hide from. Thank you." The leaves rustled gently above them, like applause from heaven. And so, the girl the world mocked as the mad woman's child walked forward into her future. Not as a shadow, not as a beggar, but as a daughter, a sister, and a light. Her story became a proverb whispered in markets and schools. Never judge a child by the madness of her mother, nor by the dust on her feet. For inside the most forgotten soul can burn the brightest flame. And Tulu, once invisible, now shone so brightly that the world itself had no choice but to see her true worth. What a journey Tulu has taken, from being mocked as Omoweri to finally being seen for who she truly is. Family, we'd love to hear from you. Do you believe Chief Agu truly deserved forgiveness after abandoning Tulu and her mother for so many years? And what lesson from this story touched your heart the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Your perspective might inspire someone else today. If this story moved you, please like this video, subscribe to African Folktales Hub, and share it with your family and friends so more people can be blessed by stories like this. Remember, every child has worth, no matter where they come from. What do you think? Should Tulu's forgiveness be celebrated, or was it too soon?